journey. It is already podcast number 2. Time is truly flying. It's the Max Luther here, coming to you from a rainy and cold, you could say damp, London night. I am on my way to Berlin for a Eurojaunt with Mr. G, who would be coming on podcast number 5. He will be talking about his story, how he got into game, and how he began his journey to the pickup world. We are on podcast 2. That is absolutely crazy. We will be making a special podcast number 5 in which Mr. G would be joining, as I have said it. And we will also be doing a 10th podcast special in which we would have a special guest on podcast number 5, podcast number 10, 15, 20, every 5 podcasts you can say. I'm going to be having day gamers, night gamers, PUA coaches, and guys that have mastered the art of seduction on the Max Luther podcast. And we're going to be picking their brains. We're going to be telling a lot of crazy stories that these guys have gone through. I'm going to be telling some of the crazy stories I've gone with them and that have also happened to me. Now, coming back to our second podcast, the journey. My pickup journey began, I would say, about 7 years ago. And how it began was I was on the couch watching TV one night. Something I really don't do that much, as I'm always out chasing skirt. Other ways before pickup, I used to do night game and social circle game, friend game, long distance game, social media game, different forms of game, but not the London day game model. Now, coming onto the game, I was literally watching one of those late night TV shows, and there was this skinny bald guy being interviewed, and as he was being interviewed, I was really not paying that much attention until the host said something about a book which this guy wrote on how to pick up women and how to attract them. I leapt out of my chair and ran and got some piece of paper and a pen. That time, those were the things we used. Honestly, it wasn't that long ago. I did have my phone, but I didn't have, these fancy apps where you could write things down and stuff. So that was the first thing that came to mind. I quickly wrote down the book's name, and then I started researching the living hell out of it. I read The Game by Neil Strauss, and that bald guy was the man himself, Neil Strauss. I read that book in, I would say, a night. Yes, it took me a night to read that book. And I was absolutely fascinated by it. The characters in it, from John Matrix to the legendary, style, mystery, Baxter, and the king of all, Ross Jeffries. And these guys were something out of a, you could say, movie in which each guy had a different story behind them, and they just really fascinated me. After reading the game, I went on to a binge of forums on PUA pickup, on books, anything associated with seduction and pickup. I came across crazy amounts of things, including the mystery method, which is truly one of the fundamental things. A lot of guys out there, I often tell them to go and read, first of all, the game to get inspired, to get off your ass, and to see that there is a world out there. And secondly, you need to be going out and reading the mystery method to get the steps. Now, I know the mystery method is for the night gamers out there, but there are a lot of, important bits in it, such as the first approach, the seduction, the comfort bubble, the vibe, the seduction, the extraction, the isolation, all these things are in the mystery method. And once you get them down on paper and you practice them over and over again, you could take this into day game, tweak it a bit, and then, maybe dial down the energy and the physical things, and it's going to work. And I went through the mystery method. I also read some crazy books like Alan Roger Curry's Mode 1, which at this day and age, I would truly be careful, as the don't touch me movement is in full swing. Now, after going on a crazy pickup seduction binge of theory, of forums, of online chat groups, and all kinds of things, I then took it upon myself to take action. There weren't a lot of YouTube infields on YouTube. So I often took my inspiration from, chat forums and guys telling me their stories and those kind of things. Now, I was a guy who was okay with girls. A lot of guys, they lie and they say, oh, I was the best, and then I learned the game, and then I became a fucking master. But that wasn't the case for me. I was okay with girls. I was okay around them, but I wasn't at the level of a PUA artist, or at the level of a seduction artist, I could say. And that's the level that I wanted to get into. So what I basically done was I went, and I remember doing my first approach. I was walking down a bus stop, and there was this girl standing there, and I remember just saying it, fuck it, just do it. You've got nothing to lose. She's a total stranger. The worst thing she could say is fuck off. And that is not that bad. You could just say, have a nice day, you too, and just walk off. So I walked up to her and I said, excuse me, do you know the time? And she said, yeah, she told me the time, what it was. And I said, wow, that's a really nice watch. I used to have a watch like that before I lost it in the swimming pool. Something like that, direct, indirect. And then we ended up talking. I did not know what step I was on. I did not know what to really vibe on. I just remember talking a little bit, vacuuming. She talked a little bit, and then I ended up asking her number. That time there was no WhatsApp, there was none of this. So she just gave me her number. I didn't check if it was real or not. Honestly, I was way too excited because of, I got this girl's number. I've just met her, and she was a total stranger to me. So this was like, wow, this works. And over that year, I think I did, I would say, 150 approaches, and around 70 to 80 of them were direct, indirect. There wasn't unless, I didn't see the London day game model. It wasn't, cleansed to the state that it is now. So I was using a lot of indirect, a lot of mystery method stuff. My vibe got, calmer. And I'd say the most important thing that I say to guys out there. You know, a lot of guys, they ask me, what would be like if you had nothing else? What would be the number one thing you could tell someone who just started doing day game or night game? And the first one is to get comfortable around hot girls. Once you're able to do that, everything else will just fall into place. What you need to be doing, you need to be going out there. You need to first make friends. You need to, make a group of social circle. Whether I don't recommend work colleagues because that could have an effect later on. Just go out into the city you live in and go into events, go into clubs, whatever, and meet people. Take down numbers, get to know guys also, and you could either use them as a wing or you could use them as props. But also the most important thing is you meet girls. You just meet them and just start getting comfortable around them. Look at the way they act, look at their behavior, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way if they get angry, the way what makes them tick basically. After you're comfortable around women, then you could start building from there. But it's hard, guys, because when you come from a place of scarcity and you are faking it till you make it basically. Faking abundance until you truly understand what abundance is, you have to fake it. And then eventually as you learn, you're going to be truly abundant. Now, that was my first approach. It was a little bit scary, you could say, but I was totally excited. As I said, I did around 70 to 80 direct and indirects, and then the rest that year were kind of going more and more direct. I met this guy early on who was on the street, and I had just finished a set. I think I did my first double set, and there were a pair of tourist girls. They were walking in somewhere near Oxford Circus, I think, and I must have ran into them. I don't know how I ran into them. It was somewhere near Oxford Circus in a coffee shop, and I just approached them, talked, got their numbers, and then walked off. And I was feeling pretty cool. And then as I was walking, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was kind of weird. And there was this guy. He had a black bomber jacket. He had glasses, which was weird because it was not even sunny. And he was smiling. And he said, "Hey mate, I just seen you from over there. I just wanted to, this is my this is my London accent, guys." He was like, "Hey mate, I just saw you from across the street over there, and I just saw you did the two set over there, and I just wanted to say, I'm a fellow date myself, and that was pretty good, mate." That's my London accent, guys. I am not from London. In the later podcasts, I'll talk about that. But coming back, this was the notorious Mr. S, we shall call him. And Mr. S was my first wing. And I remember that year I was 6 months into pickup and day game and seduction. And he said, "Let's go for a Euro jaunt." And we went to Spain. This is me knowing this guy for 3 weeks. We went out every single day. Day game, the living hell out of the streets. And believe me, we got so many numbers, so many days, and so many crazy stories that I'm going to be telling on this podcast. But coming into my day game journey, I met Mr. S and we went to Spain. We went to Spain. We did a Eurojaunt. It was absolutely crazy. A lot of crazy stories, but he was ahead of me in game. He was into the day game scene for about a year. I was a novice. I was new to it, and he had a bit of experience. He had a bit of confidence. He was just one of those guys that were like, that hopped into shit and then thought about it later. So that was really cool. We pushed each other. It was a bit of a competition, you could say. And where do we go from there? Yes, we went to Spain. We had crazy day game experiences, and then coming back, I then started meeting different guys in the day game scene. I had met the notorious Tom Terrero, the Welshman, in a boot camp somewhere in London. I do not remember the year, but after going to that boot camp, I really put down the steps to paper. I had already been on over 100 dates at that time, and it was getting clearer for me how the day game method worked and the steps. Now, after going to that boot camp, I went on a South Eurojaunt where I went to Finland. Crazy, absolutely crazy things happened there. That is going to be in my first book coming. You guys will be hearing about it soon enough. I'm going to be also writing a small playbook named The Flirt Game. This is going to be, a simple PDF file text in which I'm going to talk about all the tactics on how to start conversations and how to basically flirt with girls. It's going to be really cool, and a lot of guys I know really need this, and I want to really put it out there for you guys. And I'm thinking of making it free or making it, £3 or £2, something like that. $2, our American friends would say. And this is just to add a bit of value to it. I don't want people to just download it for the sake of it if they're not going to use it, and just let it sit on their computers or their, laptops or their phones. I want people to really try this shit and then see it work and see it in action and get results and change their lives. That's what it's all about. And the day game journey, I would say at this stage, I am in the later stages of the day game journey, in which I'm in the dark arts of seduction. And this is more of a psychological game. Once you've done all the physical stuff, you move past it. And then we are gonna talk a little bit about how I got into the dark arts of seduction. Well, this happened around 2.5 years into game. I was, or was it? Yeah, it was 2.5 years, around 3 years, you could say, into day game, pickup, street approach, night game. I was watching a TV show in which this catfish had managed to seduce 7 women. And he managed to do this only using phone game. And this was truly impressive because the 7 women that were seduced looked really, really good. They were good looking girls. And he managed to pick them off one by one. And he was simultaneously speaking to 7 women at different stages. As you know, the seduction game is stages. You start off the first level, just getting to know her, talking to her, investing, building comfort. And then other stages could be, where she's truly in a deep connection mode and you want to move her to the need mode in which she's chasing you, she's worried about you, she's calling you. So these are the different seduction steps. And this guy was on several steps because he obviously was talking to, and I mean, started talking to these girls at different times. And this was truly impressive because basically it was revealed that this was a fat woman behind the computer when she was exposed. And the 7 girls were in front of them. And let me just add, they were sending this guy. He actually, I mean, the troll or the catfish did look like a obese guy, but at the end it was a woman. But let's just say, yeah, let's just call it the woman. These girls were sending her flowers, paintings, quotes. They were begging to see her. Absolutely, truly, how can I say, just seduced out of their mind. And this impressed me because I was on the streets doing the approaches, doing all this, but to also know there's another dimension of game. There's a dimension of game which has not been seen before, which has not, I could truly say, has not been talked about in the community. And this is the text game. This is the social media game. This is the phone game. This is the long distance game. This is a truly powerful game. And once you understand this, once you learn the steps, it is absolutely intoxicating. Now, coming back to the story. Basically, this catfish seduced the living hell out of these girls. They were sending him flowers. They were begging to meet him. Some of them were actually willing to fly across the world to come and see this girl, or should I say, fat women. I don't know if that's one of those words that they might attack me on if I say. Now they said, the feminist movement have said men basically have to have no balls, but yeah. Coming back to sorry, I'm getting messages now. Coming back to the story. Yeah, he was exposed, she was exposed, and the 7 girls were sitting in front of her. And then I'm getting crazy texts, sorry. This is why I should turn my phone off when I'm doing the podcast. Now, the crazy things, guys, was after being exposed, after seeing how this person looked like, she was obviously using a different picture than how she looked. She was using a guy's picture that looked okay. She wasn't using no superstar, no ripped, shredded guy. It was just the average college guy that she had downloaded this picture from some college website. And some of the girls were still willing to and wanting to talk to her, get to know her, go on dates. And it was crazy because after being exposed and after all this shit happening to them, and this went on for, I'd say, the seduction that this girl or this woman put on them lasted a year. So it was deep. It was truly a deep connection. And after this, they were still willing and wanting and craving this. And that got me thinking. I said, there must be another dimension of seduction. And that's how the Dark Arts of Seduction was born. I went on to read books like, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. It touches on it, I have to admit, but it's a very heavy book. It needs to be divided up. And, in my former podcast, I talked about the guy that actually knew, these steps of Dark Arts of Seduction. But coming back to the journey, that's how I started the Dark Arts of Seduction, guys. I got into it. I started doing that, and I started doing, the long distance, the social media, the that game in conjunction. I think that's the way you say it, with doing my daily day game. approaches. We are truly coming to the end of podcast number 2, the journey. I have just given you guys a taste of how I got into game, a bit of what I went through. Later on in maybe podcast 5 and 6, we'll be talking about, in depth some of my adventures. Stay tuned. This is the Max Luther, and I'm out.